and welcome
to Red, White, and Bi.
Episode 39.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Ash.
And we are coming at you in, okay, let's just start off cold open. It's weird to me that sometimes we have these 2-week periods where there's not a lot happening in the news cycle. It's a little bit of a struggle to come up with something to talk about. Sometimes we just talk about a theme that's ongoing, and not related to current events. And then you have time periods like the one we just went through, where I feel like there's so much to talk about. Like we have like 3 really meaty subjects. And Ash, for 2 women who are married to each other, we got a lot of meat.
We have the meats. That's a free plug from Arby's, who does not sponsor our show.
But are welcome to if they choose.
Yeah. Bing Rames for the win. So, we actually had to narrow down topics. I had a list of 6 to 7, and we had to narrow it down to 3. And we actually started going in 2-week intervals, specifically because the news cycle didn't seem like meaty enough, for lack of a better phrase, to fill it. And now it's like, hey, if this keeps up, we'll probably have to do one every week again.
So you could say that, on a once-a-week thing, it's not enough meat to fill the void, and now this 2-week gap is almost too much meat to fit. Is that correct? Am I just being disgusting?
Yeah.
It's kind of... But it's funny, you laughed.
So, let's go ahead and start with the worst thing that happened this week. Just the psychotic bullshit that was that congressional hearing with Anthony Fauci.
Oh my God. So I feel like sort of the Fauci situation is like the harbinger of my political journey, because I feel like COVID is when I really started to notice things that I had always taken for granted weren't exactly lining up with my personal philosophy or political ideology. COVID is sort of like the first crack in the first chink in the armor for me, kind of deciding to walk away from like extreme leftism. So to be here, 6 years after shutdown and see Fauci having to defend his, like what I now see is his bullshit, is really weird.
Well, and I'll be honest, the night that I met Hannah, I feel like she had a date with a random stranger, and she put some of that stuff down in front of me because we were at a restaurant and they were gonna make you wear a mask to the table, take it off, eat, put the mask back on. And on her way out, she just said, fuck it. And she just walked because she's a scientist and she knows this doesn't make any sense.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. And we were like, I don't know, I'm terrible at guessing distances, but we were like yards from the door.
Yeah.
And the restaurant was mostly empty. So it's like the people that I'm going to encounter in between my table and the door are also handling my dirty silverware and wine glass. Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, in what universe does this make any sense?
And you guys know I work in healthcare, and in a laboratory setting at that time, I was deep in the COVID trenches. We were doing hundreds of COVID tests a day, and I was, right there in it. So in the beginning of COVID, I was very concerned about having the right, we called them hoods, but like the right biosafety cabinet, like you see them in movies, like the little glass cube that you stick your hands into and you manipulate samples. I wanted to make sure we had like the right one. It was graded for airborne viruses and all this stuff. And we had major concerns when our first COVID case came through the ER. And then by that point, Ash, when we had our first date, it was just like I said, fully in the trenches, doing hundreds of them a day, wearing gloves, certainly, but not eye protection anymore, not face shields, not masks. It was just like, I was over it, man.
And when you look back on everything that you were essentially put through as somebody working in a lab, how do you feel knowing the way that we're treating COVID now? Like knowing that we treat it basically like the flu.
Right. It's hard for me to take like a really extreme stance one way or the other. we were seeing deaths related to it. We had, it was a smaller hospital that I worked at the time, and we did have one of our frontline doctors get it early in the whole COVID frenzy and died from it. Like, I knew that it was extreme and it was taking lives, but to me, the thing that was clear from start to finish immediately from the beginning and all the way up until today is that we didn't understand it. Like, it was severe. And for some people more than others, in a way we didn't understand. It was not a big deal to others. Some people caught it, multiple times a year. Some people never got it at all. And I think that is an important feature of science in general, that you have to acknowledge when you don't know. It is the most dangerous thing in the world to pretend you know when you don't.
Well, and what we can't know now, and obviously, like, I can lean one way or the other, but the response obviously was more damaging to businesses than if they had done nothing. But the way that they behaved in terms of nursing homes, I think probably killed more old people than were protected. It's just like locking these people down when COVID is going through a place. It's like, I work in settings that are medical, even though my job itself is not medical. And so the idea that you would act that way if there was a case of the shits like we talked about last time, or like a respiratory, just a general respiratory virus, like lock them in all together. It just seems dangerous the way that, like, normally if you live in a nursing home, you can leave and go spend time with your family, and maybe that's the best thing for you when something like that is.
I don't think that's typical. And anytime you have like an infectious outbreak, communal living places are highly high risk environments, like prisons, nursing homes, hospitals. Like, the fact is, the majority of your time is spent all stuck together in a small space, and they're dangerous places to be.
Well, and my question to you, because I'm not a scientist, do you think that the way that we treat it now, and maybe the way we should have treated it, was more like the same stuff that we would do if there were, like, pneumonia? It was a bad pneumonia year, and people have comorbidities, and it does make you a lot more susceptible to die because of, like, any kind of respiratory virus. So, like, tell people wash their hands, like, mask if you want to, but the enforcement of it, like it was going to kill us all, it just seems so absurd looking back.
Everything's more clear, in hindsight, as they say. I want to practice what I preach and say, first of all, to answer your question, I don't know. And that's a fact. I am not an epidemiologist. I have worked in virology labs, but I myself am not a virologist. Like, I think it's important to acknowledge that I'm giving my best educated, like, perspective, but that leaves a lot to be desired. I think there's something different about COVID and the flu, right? Like, when the flu goes bad, it does kill, for sure. But you can usually predict who that's going to happen to. Like you said, the comorbidities or the age group or just the general state of health of the person. With COVID, it seemed like it was more random and more severe. Like, it was taking out people in their 20s, and nobody really knew why. So I feel like it was a slightly different animal, but not in a way that I understood, and not in a way that I feel like there was any way to mitigate. It was just like Russian roulette. I don't think that it was deadly for as many people as the media was portraying, but it was happening, and it was happening in a way that felt a little scary and random.
So you notice I was trying to get a specific answer out of Hannah, and she didn't know, and she said exactly what I expected her to say, because she's a person of humility and wisdom.
Well, I'm glad I passed that test.
She said, I don't know, not I am science.
No, because that's ridiculous.
Well, and it's kind of funny because I had thought about this, but Hannah was one of the first people to really like drill it in. And it was like this idea that anybody, especially somebody who's worked in a scientific community for decades upon decades, would say that the science is settled.
That's baffling to me. Like I said before, I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't have a doctorate. I don't even have a master's. I work in a really specific capacity. But that's my favorite thing about science is that you're allowed to not know, and you're allowed to try things out, and you're allowed to fail. Like, the stupid little anecdote about Thomas Edison. Like, I didn't fail 99 times. I found 99 ways not to make a light bulb. Like, as trite and stupid and over-repeated as that is, it's true. And it's what I like about science. Your failures are their own successes. It's not the success you wanted, but it's getting you closer to the goal. It's ridiculous to think somebody should be infallible in science.
Well, and Hannah would probably know more examples than I would, just as somebody who is actually into science. Like, she has always pointed out that she might have had subjects in school that you thought you were better at.
Science were my worst grades.
But you were interested in science, and so, like, from a historical perspective on science, I think you could probably speak to this better than I. But I'm sure there are plenty of examples of things we knew that ended up being false. Just like we knew how the solar system looked until we realized we didn't.
And that was the example I was going to bring up. And I hesitated for a second because it's so far ago and so like in terms of time, but also in terms of like how much we know about the world today, that it's a little hard to identify with. But there was a time where we knew for a fact that the Earth was the center of the solar system, and like to question it was ludicrous, dangerous, and heretical.
Yeah. And I have even heard in recent years, like, I can't tell you what the alternative theory is, but I've heard that there is now some science that brings into question, like, the Big Bang. Like, maybe this thing that, when you and I were in elementary school science was a fact, might have some shades to it that change it, and it's not necessarily like proven as definitely what formed the universe.
Well, and we talk about this sometimes, and I won't harp on this too long, but there's like the way that science uses a word and the way that the general population uses a word, and it can get confusing because there are two different definitions, and so it can be like it was never a fact. The Big Bang was never a fact. It was always a theory. But then again, a theory doesn't mean to science what it means to casual conversation.
Right. Like a conspiracy theory.
I get your point. Yeah, it's like like gravity is a theory.
Right.
And you would be hard pressed to find people who didn't believe in it.
Yeah.
However, but yeah, like, so all that aside, yeah, to have a theory as established as possible, as accepted as possible, and then to realize that, like, oh no, this is why we call it a theory, because new information that we have never seen before might come out one day that shakes it up a little.
Yeah. So before we jump into the hearing itself, I think we need to point out something that I kept seeing. There are so many things that appear to be ops to me because the phrasing on X is exactly the same. It's not just close. It's the same phrases. Verbatim. And one of the ones that I was noticing, and this is paraphrasing that verbatim language, but it was something along the lines of, so basically the right hates Dr. Fauci because he did his best and he saved millions and millions of people. Am I getting that right?
That's weird because, and this happens all the time, it may have been something you posted, but I feel like I read that exact, like, let me get this straight, blah, blah, blah. Am I getting that right?
And my thought about the whole thing is that they're leaving out the most important part. Whether you think he did a good job with the response or not is not the most important part. The most important part is gain of function research, which caused the whole thing.
Well, I think you could say a few things are the most important part, or many important things. it remains to be seen how honest he was during this whole process. It remains to be seen if it really was his level best. I think there's a good argument to be made that it wasn't.
Right.
So if he was trying his best, like, I guess I can't fault that guy for, like, not trying harder. But then again, like, if I was trying my best to manage COVID, should I be the one in charge? Like, my best is not appropriate for the task at hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't want to jump too far ahead to, like, the next topic that we're going to talk about, but I feel like we should mention that there might be a tie-in between the administration that, you know, Fauci's been in his position for years and years, going back to, like, he was involved in trying to combat the AIDS epidemic.
I have wanted to make several jokes about that so far.
Well, you can joke away. This is not a formal podcast.
Well, I don't want
just
to interrupt
you.
you. All I was going to say is, like, to say you're infallible, this is coming from the guy who told people in the 80s that you couldn't live under the same roof as a gay person or you might catch AIDS. And has he ever amended his statement?
No, and it's so funny because, like, you can find protest signs from this time period in the 80s when they're saying, Dr. Fauci, you're killing us. And I thought, like, hey, can we charge him with bioterrorism for creating AIDS? Because we don't know he didn't do it.
And again, this is like another side. Yeah, that's true. Another side avenue. I've heard strong celebrity opinions coming from, you know, a liberal point of view or a leftist point of view, that it was Republicans who basically, like, made gays feel isolated and alone and didn't address the issue and, like, basically, like, cost hundreds of thousands of gay lives because they weren't responding to it and prioritizing it back in the 80s. And if anybody looked at it at all and realized that it was Fauci, who was the same Fauci, like, call it left, call it right, but, like, you can't say it was a Republican agenda. It was fucking Fauci.
Well, and here's the thing, like, politics is at the root of this. Like, okay, if we try to blame Reagan for a response to AIDS, when it's fair to say we probably knew a lot less about AIDS in the early 80s than we did about a coronavirus, you know, in recent years. But let's just say, if you want to blame it all on Reagan and blame it all on Trump, try to imagine it's a Democrat in office. Do you think they wouldn't follow the advice of whoever was in charge of response team? Like, as much as I do blame Trump for following the advice of lockdowns, when you had DeSantis in Florida not do it and actually less people were sick, I feel like DeSantis took a huge political risk, though, in doing that, because if he was wrong, he killed a bunch of people, and then
that's your legacy.
Yeah, and then everybody, you know, says that you're some sort of crazy tyrant, even though you were just trying to give people their freedom and keep the businesses open. So I don't know that you can put it all on the politicians that follow the advice of a guy who said he was science.
Yeah, I mean, what are they supposed to do, right or left? And speaking of right or left, I find it so hypocritical and so, like, bizarre to me how quickly the left forgets that it was Trump who was in charge when this all started.
Yep.
And it was, whether or not you agree with it, I know plenty of people on the right and conservatives who were upset about this response, the way he fast-tracked the vaccine.
Yeah.
And, like, basically, like, commandeered Moderna and Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer and some of the testing companies and stuff too, like true fascist takeover. Like, so if you are pro shutdowns and masking and vaccines, as most leftists are, Trump started it. And like, how, dude, it was only 6 years ago. How do you whitewash that out of your memory already?
Yeah. We have a friend of the show, Chase, who Hi Chase, who actually was a young man in his 20s when all of this happened, took the Moderna vaccine and did get the swelling in his heart.
Oh, jeez.
And he is like me in many ways. Like, he's a real conservative, not a Trumpkin. Mm-hmm. And so that was just another reason for him to hate Trump.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, to me, it's people who are, like, in the cult, just let that wash away from their memories. But people who never liked the fact that it happened to begin, or that he locked things down, or that he, like, did a myriad of other things, are able to say, hey, this isn't really in line with my beliefs. Mm-hmm. And those are the people we like to encourage here on Red, White, and Bi.
So, getting to the hearing itself, an infuriating thing that we talked about during this is the fact that he has a blanket pardon from Biden, from when Joe Biden was president, for any crimes committed in this window of time. Just a blanket pardon, which I don't understand how freely these are given out, like, and that there's no justification for them. There's no, like, hearing of, like, should this be justified, should it not? It's just like, these people are above the law because I feel like it. So, all that aside, the guy can't be charged. So the reason for this hearing is information gathering and not criminal, not prosecutorial, if that's a word. Yeah. And there's an interesting conundrum that's coming up that I think is, like, interesting to talk about. Mm-hmm. So, to most, if not all questions, Fauci is pleading the Fifth Amendment, which we all know is your right to remain silent. But what is less talked about is, like, the rest of the sentence there, or the rest of the idea. It's your right to remain silent so that you don't incriminate yourself. Mm-hmm. You have a right to not contribute to your own conviction. So in this case, this weird little legal situation that we've talked about, it's so interesting to me that because he is not eligible for conviction, the Fifth Amendment does not apply to him.
Right. And it makes two things really interesting. One, he is now opening himself up to prosecution because he can be held in contempt. Whereas if he had just told the truth at that hearing, they couldn't really do anything to him.
Yeah, he gets to walk out and have dinner with his family.
But what he was worried about, most likely, is perjuring himself. That he would get up there and lie, just like he lied before. Mm-hmm. But he's been pardoned from his previous perjury. So people have pointed out that Dr. Birx, who was his cohort in the Operation Warp Speed to get the vaccine out, and the COVID response team, really, that she's not been pardoned. And what I think would be interesting is if they called her, if they subpoenaed her before Congress, she would have the option then to plead the Fifth because she hasn't been pardoned, or she could rip him a new one. Mm-hmm. And I think she wants to. She's done interviews in this past week, and she starts by saying, I've worked with him for years. I have kind feelings about the man, but let's put that aside. And then she says a bunch of kind of nasty things about him. So I feel like she's kind of itching.
Well, and I think it would be smart for Fauci and his lawyer or lawyers to keep in mind that they're scot-free, right? Like, they don't, as long as they don't perjure themselves or stand in contempt of this proceeding, there's no real risk of, like, punishment or retribution. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't have to worry about that. Nothing to lose here. But she, on the other hand, has a very different sense of nothing to lose. Yeah. Like, she could be convicted. So she's the one who benefits from a plea deal or benefits from cooperating by... She could be motivated to tell more of that story. Whereas because Fauci has nothing to lose, he also has no ability to gain. There's no positive leverage for him. Well, whereas she does have that.
And here's what's interesting. She, in all likelihood, was not involved in the first part, the gain of function testing. She's only involved in the response and the vaccine. Therefore, she could, like, if she didn't know anything about that, then she hasn't really obstructed justice. But if she learned anything afterward and is now called, if there were emails that she saw, anything like that she could share with the class, then he, it's like he's not going to be convicted because of the pardon. But she could out him for the terrible man that he is, and maybe they could do something about him not getting a $400,000 a year pension.
Yeah, fuck that, man. So, I think you had wanted to talk about some of the vitriol and stuff that we saw unfolding in this hearing, like, to an extent that, and this is coming from somebody who doesn't pay super close attention to this kind of stuff, since I do now that I've met you, but not before. It got, like, heated in a way that I don't think is very common for these things.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody say the fuck word in one of these hearings before, and I heard the fuck word. So that was one thing. Obviously, we knew that Rand Paul had been waiting for this opportunity. So he really both pointed out how disgusting it is for people just to want to know what happened and to get the fifth over and over again from somebody who's not even eligible to plead it. And that was one thing. And we heard something pretty similar from Josh Hawley, who asked Fauci, what color is the sky? What color is the carpet?
And did he plead?
And he pled the fifth on those questions.
Oh my God, what a pussy.
Exactly. They had to haul his attorney out because he kept interrupting the hearing. And he wasn't even supposed to sit next to Fauci at the table, especially since he's going to plead the fifth on every question.
Yeah, but you could have stayed home, man.
Exactly. So he's the same attorney who represented Bob Menendez, who had a bunch of like stolen gold in his closet when they kicked him out of Congress and sent him to jail.
Cougarons.
And so, like, the guy is possibly in deep shit because he's going to be held in contempt. They could fine him up to $100,000. They could sentence him to a year in jail, and then maybe they could repeat this process if he keeps obstructing justice.
It'd be great if they did it every single time he pled.
I know. So speaking of that, like, who said the fuck word? It's Senator Bernie Moreno from Ohio, who had his moment when he basically told Fauci, I had to close all my businesses down about this time 6 years ago. And he'd been waiting for that moment, I think, to just tell him, like, who the fuck were you to do that?
Yeah.
And it was nice to see him basically say, like, you've got this attorney that represents everybody who goes to prison who's associated with politics. So you feel like you're in deep shit right now, huh? And it's like, people I saw all over the place, even like Mark Levin, were saying, I don't think we should be using this kind of language in maybe I'm a prude. And it's like, kids aren't watching C-SPAN, and if they were a kid like me and watching C-SPAN, I'd be like, oh, that's fucking awesome, So it's like, get over it. He can say fuck to the guy who closed down his 6 businesses 6 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, we're all adults here, man. Get over it. But exactly. When you told me about this senator, you said, when you told me about him, I did kind of like get the warm and fuzzies, because I feel like it's the silver lining to this story that somebody who was oppressed by his government and suffered at their hands, not even 10 years ago, like just 6 short years ago, decided to do something about it. And here he is getting his moment, climbed all the way to the top, got to stand in front of him on this day of reckoning. And even though, yeah, criminality is off the table, like, you got to look this motherfucker in the eye and tell him, you did this to me.
Yeah, that you don't get to be a hero.
And I realize it's like small compensation, but also it still feels like a big deal that he was able to have that moment of darkness, vow to do something about it, and then he did something about it in a very short amount of time.
And he basically said you were more into the fact in your diary that you got to meet Kim Kardashian than you were at all invested in saving people's livelihoods. And to me, that's fair. And I also want to point out, people, they're right, though, when the greatest irony is that the government did this to people. They caused businesses people's entire life savings were lost because they tried to save restaurants that they poured all their life into. And the government did that. And now the government can't punish the guy who was instrumental in doing it.
Because the government pardoned him.
Exactly. So to me, it is sort of like a dog and pony show at the same time. They're rolling all of this out and they're going to try to do something or whatever. But it's like, I'm sorry. I feel like we are to a place where the government isn't afraid of us, and that's a problem.
Oh, we're so far past the place of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, our tax money paid for gain-of-function testing.
Mm-hmm. And it was illegal.
And then we paid in business lost and jobs lost and loved ones lost and all the enormous measures that were taken to try to combat it, probably needlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And then our tax money is paying for Fauci's pension while all this is going on. And then our tax money pays for these proceedings.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all after our tax money paid for the president's salary who pardoned him.
And that is just a fraction of the pain caused by nurses making TikTok videos where they were dancing. And today I saw a woman in Grosse Pointe who was mowing her lawn with a mask just over her mouth. As an asthmatic, I can't wrap my mind around what you're trying to do there.
Like, do you think she was trying to keep, like, dust out of her mouth?
Close it. Close your mouth.
And it wasn't over her nose.
It wasn't over her nose. That's the part I don't get. So
maybe she didn't shave her face that day.
Easy peasy. Anyway. So, Anthony Fauci is a Keebler elf who should just, I don't know, be shot into the sun. Just fire him into the sun.
I feel like the only thing I can be happy about is that he's sweating. Like, he's an old man who's going to die, and at least he doesn't get to die in, like, fame and renown and respect. Like, at least he'll die in a shady legacy of shame and suspicion. And because he made that bed with both hands.
And he looks like Ellen.
And he does look like Ellen.
They have the same haircut.
I don't know who that's more insulting to.
Yes. Right now, probably Ellen, because Anthony Fauci killed people and Ellen's just a bigot and a bad person. So, moving on. I wanted to talk about this next story in conjunction with the COVID Fauci thing, because I feel like it's possible, although, you know, this is just me again being tinfoil hattie. I'm not going to be like Candace Owens and say I have receipts or anything. I feel like it's possible they're connected, even loosely. And we have to talk about the town hall article and now CNN story, wherein it seems very possible the Bidens were blackmailed by China during the Biden administration. They point out specifically on the CNN story that Secretary Anthony Blinken, who was Secretary of State at the time, suddenly really wanted to get that nuclear deal back together with Iran, and everything was like really appeasing and to both China and Iran, and they really left that spy balloon up there for a while, huh, Hannah?
Oh, I remember the spy balloon. I remember that. Didn't some pardon my French here, didn't some hillbilly shoot it down?
I hope so.
I thought so.
To me, like...
Or at least, I'm sure one of them tried.
Yeah.
And God bless.
Yeah. And so there was all this stuff happening that, yes, can happen with a weak leader, but it turns out documents were found. Catherine Herridge, who was a reporter for Fox News and then CNN, and now she's independent, revealed to Town Hall that they have evidence, she didn't say what it was, but that the Bidens were being blackmailed, and then CNN followed up and basically confirmed the pay-to-play type stories where Hunter Biden got $2.8 and then $2.4 million from members of the Chinese Communist Party in the same 2-year period.
And for clarity, because I keep asking you this and I keep forgetting, pay to play just means like you are basically exchanging like goods or services or cash to get FaceTime with the president.
Yeah.
So you give that to the son, and the son brings dad around, and you guys go play golf or something.
And when you think about things like this, but also maybe things that were done a little bit more in a money laundering type way, like, oh, Hunter Biden's on the board of a Ukrainian oil company. I wonder what that could be. Could that be pay to play? I don't know. Seems like it.
Yeah, there's like, it doesn't, I feel like we heard whispers of this at the time, right?
Yes, and definitely, like, I thought it was pretty clear that that was what was happening. Like, Joe Biden wasn't exactly with it, but he seemed with it enough to want money. Mm-hmm. And even, like, he said Hunter was the smartest man he ever met.
He should get out more.
It's like his drug-addicted son might have been the one leading the White House, or Jill, or whatever, or the auto pen. But it's like, he doesn't care about much, I don't think. He doesn't know that a kid who's presenting an award to him at a college isn't Barack Obama. So I feel like he just either lined his pockets because he wanted to line his pockets, or because his son or his wife told him to. Mm-hmm. But just the same, something shady was going on. And I think back to the fact that Joe Biden ran around a lot as vice president. That he was the guy who did all of this foreign dealings as vice president. And part of it was like, well, Joe's got all the experience. Mm. But I think he was even using his position at that time to line his pockets. There was stuff that he probably knew about and did that even I, as somebody who doesn't like Obama didn't necessarily have to know about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's the one traveling. Mm-hmm. How does everybody else know what's going on necessarily? So I just think it's possible you had the Wuhan lab open under this administration, and this is me being a V for Vendetta type conspiracy theorist for a minute.
Wait, under the Obama administration, correct?
Yes, okay. Under the Obama administration. What if it's possible that this was a plan hatched, that if Trump wins an election, you release a virus and keep people from voting that year, or, scare them, or they'll vote Democrat because he's not going to do a good job, because who could with this? Yeah. All the businesses closed down. The economy's bad. It's all his fault. Yeah, basically. And this to me seems like an old song and dance, like, we'll manufacture a problem so we can swoop in and quote unquote solve it. Yep. And at the very least... Which, look at it now. Like, people are still getting COVID. I think it's still at least a very closely related strain. But nobody cares anymore. And it's like, well, no, we fixed it. We fixed it. So now it's not a big deal. And it's like, you don't fix a species. Yeah. And, I mean, another thing is, it's like immigration. You don't have to fix the problem if you blame your predecessor. Mm-hmm. Oh, everything's so bad. It's all his fault. Mm-hmm. And then, to Hannah's point, though, if you just don't make it worse, don't release another virus, don't lock people down, he liked to say, oh, I brought all these jobs back. Yeah, you posture like it was your commandership that, like, fixed the issue. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, businesses reopened, and then they had to hire people again. Basically, you just, set up for, like, a cakewalk list of accomplishments for yourself. But I think the American people it didn't wash. And even if Joe Biden hadn't been so far gone that he, couldn't have run for re-election, I feel like people wouldn't have bought that. Mm-hmm. And as much as things got bad during COVID, I feel like I didn't hear so many people, even on the right, who were really mad about the vaccine, really mad about lockdowns, blaming it all on Trump, as much as people were real mad at Biden. And in fact, in terms of the right, I think all the anti-vaxxers and the people who were most upset about the way it was being handled were MAGA. Yeah. Which never made sense to me at the time. And the more time that passes and the further back I have to look to remember it, it gets weirder every day that was the case. Yeah. Well, in a way that like, if those people stayed mad and I've seen some people call Trump the, like, vaxxer president and stuff and, like, post
Wow.
memes of him with, like, a mask on his face. I feel like if they stayed mad, at least that is intellectually consistent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, whether or not I agree with that, at least it's an ethos.
Yeah.
It's a point of view.
Yeah, like, I took 2 vaccines and, I just followed what I thought were, like, the best recommendations at the time. I'm not going to blame all my problems on it. I'm not going to say that I'm an anti-vaxxer or anything, but I will say I never had blood pressure problems before I took it.
I was very proud to, like, be, like, in the first wave of people who took it, and as a healthcare worker, I got, like, early access or whatever the fuck that was worth. But I remember, like, getting my jab, the very first one, and a bit of a long walk. It was at work. So it was a bit of a long walk from the place that they were giving out the vaccine to where the department I actually worked was. And by the time I got back, I had to sit down. Like, I was a little worried I might pass out. Like, I didn't feel well. I felt, like, lightheaded and my heart was racing. And it passed, and I did the rest of my shift. But, like, I don't know what that was. And I'm not going to sit here and say I pretend to understand it, but that's never happened to me with any other vaccine. And the fact remains, I still got COVID.
Yeah, we got COVID hard.
And it took a while for me to get it. And who can say if I would have gotten it more often or worse if I hadn't gotten the vaccine. But the whole thing just seems stupid now. And it's like, well, why did I go through any of that? Why did any of us have to go through that?
Yeah, and they really did say that if you, like Biden, straight out of his mouth, if you take it, you won't get it.
Well,
and that's not how, like, the flu works.
It's not how anything works.
Maybe polio.
No, it's still herd immunity, man.
Jeez.
That's why stuff is coming back, because it's like everybody, it's not enough for you to get it. It's not a get out of jail free card.
Jeez. Yeah, and I got dizzy when I got it, and but I also have a shellfish allergy, so I don't know.
You're dizzy all the time.
That's true. Oh, so the biggest story of the week is something that happened over the last 24 hours, and it's now over 40,000 Moroccans have flooded into Spain. It was scary footage. It's just like people coming out of the sea on boats, running up into the mainland.
You know what it reminded me of was like World War Z. Did you see that with Brad Pitt back in the day?
I am so glad that you made that reference, because Elon Musk actually posted a video from World War Z, like people coming over the wall.
It's the same mood. It was not just a big story for, like, these last 2 weeks. It's in my mind, a big story. I've never seen anything like that wasn't a Hollywood before. And I've read a couple things since it happened that I guess, like, we've had incidences like that here on our own border with Mexico to some degree. The numbers were way less. But to see that happening in real life to that degree, in those numbers,
in the same 24 hours, which is coordinated.
You ask Ash if you don't believe me. I was scared. I went to bed afraid.
I'm so sorry that I brought that up right before bed.
You always do.
I know, I'm so sorry, but it was one of those things,
wait until it's like
I couldn't believe it though.
Yeah.
Like, it shocked me, and it shouldn't shock me.
No, it absolutely should shock you. It was the most unsettling thing I've seen in a long time.
So I want to get your raw reaction to this. All right. So the World War Z thing. Mm-hmm. Elon Musk posted it. Someone says, to compare asylum seekers to zombies, you are the most racist person on the planet.
I will start by saying I don't think the body of racism, I don't think the percentage of things in that body that target Moroccans is significant. To say that Elon Musk is racist against Moroccans is hilarious.
Well, and here's the thing. What was so funny to me is that asylum seekers, they're all military-aged males. Not a woman or child among them. Not a desperate woman and child among them. They're asylum seekers, my ass.
And I'm not saying, like, times can be bad anywhere, right? Like you can have rough times and political unrest anywhere. I don't know what the situation in Morocco is, but I'm not aware of something going on there that would cause people to flee by the tens of thousands in an afternoon.
Well, and here's another question.
It's not war-torn. It doesn't have, like, there hasn't been a military coup lately. There aren't warring factions.
Let's say that you happen to be a young, desperate asylum seeker, Hannah, and you are a 24-year-old male.
Oh, okay.
Would your instinct, once you got to the safe land of Spain, be to start cars on fire because you're so grateful for your asylum?
Yes. No. No, of course not. I can't imagine, like, feeling, if you're truly seeking asylum, feeling anything but gratitude for the asylum once you find it.
I saw one woman who was not an asylum seeker, in quotes, who was running in front of this sea of young 20-something men, 40,000 plus of them, and he pulled her by her hair backward, by her ponytail.
Who did?
This kid in the video. And it's like an asylum seeker. That's how he greets the women in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, listen, even if you are an asylum seeker, you're coming up out of the sea at the tune of 40,000 strong of you. I understand if you were truly an asylum seeker, like the desperation and the, like, urgency behind that. It's still not a mob, right? Like, whatever. I'm privileged enough to know that I've never been in a situation like that. But to call it asylum seeking seems like a huge stretch.
Well, and we have...
Even if, just to your point, that they're all military age males. Where are the families? Where are the kids? Where are, like, the household possessions on your back?
Well, let's talk about who's to blame here. Pedro Sanchez.
The most generic Spanish name I've ever heard.
So this motherfucker is one of the people that I hate most on the planet Earth. And I hate a lot of people, Hannah can tell you.
She sure do.
This guy hates Israel. He hates Jews. He wants Israel kicked out of Eurovision. He wants them kicked out of FIFA.
Because these are the things that matter.
Yeah, so in the last 20 days, Spain goes from winning the World Cup against the gift that is Argentina to him giving asylum to anybody who's coming over. And then as this city catches on fire and declares a state of emergency, he tries to say it's not a big deal, that we don't need to be doing that.
Well, clearly he doesn't live there.
Yeah, so now today, you pointed that out, he is visiting, and the locals are ready to tear him limb from limb.
I'm sure the quote-unquote refugees are as well.
Yeah, probably. And this is what people like Mr. Sanchez never seem to get. You can give anything you want to, like, a bullying, appeasing people, but do you think they're really going to treat you nice because of it?
Well, and that brings me to a question Ash must be sick of by now. Like, in a situation like this, I try to think, like, what is there to gain? What did Pedro Sanchez stand to gain by taking this stance? What's in it for him?
Well, I think it could be the same thing that's in it for, I would say, J.D. Vance. I think it's possible that countries like Qatar are throwing around a lot of money, and maybe these people think, what good's a legacy? What if I retire on a beach somewhere and that's more important to me, you know, having millions of dollars than doing the right thing?
So you're saying, like, the possibility is allegedly possible. Mm-hmm. You're selling your country. You're taking a huge payout, and now Spain is lost. Spain is in the hands of an invasion.
There's pictures of him with George Soros's kid. I think we should be realistic about who politicians are. Do I think J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and Thomas Massey are somehow above being fed millions of dollars, that only Hunter Biden would do that because he's a drug addict. No, I feel like politicians, they want fame, they have big egos, and maybe the only thing that's more appealing to some people than fame is money. So do I think that I have evidence and I can prove everything and I have receipts? No, but I think I have a suspicion, and I think it's okay when I suspect that people are dirty not to trust them.
Well, and it's human nature. Greed is human nature. This sort of behavior is not like a novel idea. We see it in all through history.
Yeah.
I don't know that I know of another example, though, where in such a blatant, obvious way, somebody would have sold a nation like that. What's
weird is, like, just because we don't have, a historical example of it, like, what if we just didn't know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, it would have to be a lot less overt than that. It's the overt, if that is the case, if that allegedly is what happened, the overtness and the I don't care what this looks like kind of aspect of it is mind-boggling. It's hard to even, like, imagine.
To me, what's funny is that I look at somebody like Joe Biden, for example, because up until George W. Bush, even though he was far from a perfect president, I would say that the presidency looked pretty normal to me, even if you didn't always like who was in office.
Yeah.
Like Clinton, you might not have liked that he had affairs and lied to Congress and all of that stuff. But there's a lot of people who think he was one of the best presidents of, the past few decades, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree. Even though he was on the left, I think he worked really well with a Republican Congress. You go back, though, to... This is just something I think that is interesting. Biden enters the White House as vice president. Biden has spent decades in the corrupt swamp that is Congress. And maybe it took somebody that was in Congress that long to say, why there and not here? Why don't we just travel around the world and see how much money we can get? And maybe now that's what's happening all over the world. Like, we are the leaders of the free world, right? What if it's just like, the game's changed?
Yeah, you're in it for yourself instead of, well, like we've said before, in it for yourself instead of, like, legacy, or instead of, like, I'm going to win the presidency game. It's like, no, I'm going to win the personal bank account game.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thought, because what kind of leverage does anyone else have against that? There's none.
I think back to when Trump initially decided to run for president, and how there were some rumblings that maybe they would roll out Romney on a white horse at the convention and see if he could get nominated instead of Trump. See if they could get the delegates to vote for him instead. And I thought about that, and I thought how annoying that must have been to Trump, which is why he teased offering Mitt Romney a job and then didn't offer it to him. And I think part of it was that Mitt Romney has more money than Trump.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, he's richer than Trump. And by a significant margin, because he knows how to manage money. He's never had a bankruptcy. And my thought, to Hannah's point, is, what if it is the biggest ego game is not, I can be president. I've already done that. It's now, since I was already president, and some people love me and some people hate me no matter what I do, I may as well get rich.
Yeah, and I think that it's all sort of dawning on people at the same time, except the people who are actually playing this game and could stand to, like, participate in it. We're just a few steps behind them, and I think they've already realized it, and I think we're seeing the fruits of that. But getting back to this, like, Spain invasion or whatever, I had heard, so I think was it yesterday or today? I read that there was an incident during the Biden administration where we had a single day where there was, like, a surge at our Mexican border, and it was something like 1,500 people came, like, surging across in an afternoon. It's something I don't remember hearing about, but when you think about, like, that was, like, a newsworthy enough thing, to have remembered or recorded. And you said it was 40,000 people
Yeah.
in Spain. And so, like, the 40,000 people floated across the Strait of Gibraltar through the Mediterranean and climbed up the cliffs of Spain. We have hundreds of thousands, well, I don't really know about distance. We have miles and miles and miles of land border with Mexico and with Canada.
Yep.
And not to mention, like the Great Lakes and stuff are not exactly swimmable, but they're like smaller bodies of water that count as borders with Canada too. Imagine something like this happening on both sides at the same time, in multiple areas at the same time. And so one of the ideas that we had like sort of gone down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole of yesterday when we were talking about this is you hear all across the country right now about like the teen takeovers and how there's just like these flash mobs of vandal teenagers like taking over cities and the damage that they're causing and the frustration at how to respond to things like this. It's almost like a test pattern. It's like, what do you do if you suddenly get overwhelmed by a crowd of people who won't follow the rules? What is the police response to that? How does a city or a state manage an issue like that? And I feel like it's dress rehearsal.
Yeah, definitely. It does remind me of, there's been some rumblings that maybe these are Moroccan men that were just released from a prison. Send all of your, just like, I'm sorry, but there's rumors about this in Gaza too, that other countries send their quote unquote undesirables because they don't want them. And with Morocco, it's like, well, we could clean out our prison system, save a bunch of money, and just send them all into Spain. He gave amnesty. He's an idiot. Let's take advantage of that and send him over. Or it could be something darker where the president of Spain is getting paid by somebody, or all of the above. And so this is just, to Hannah's point, you don't know what happens next. You don't know what the next target for this is. But the problem here is that they've proven that they can do it.
They can do it in what seems like on a whim. Certainly the short amount of time that this amount of people, moved in this way is what scares me. It was like, it was quick. Yeah. And no warning. And all of a sudden you are overrun with these people who will not, be peaceable. And, despite what the president said, may or may not be welcome in a city. I almost hate to say it out loud, but I really don't know what you would do to combat a situation like that short of machine gun fire. And I realize that that's not a solution that anyone really wants to employ. Yeah. So if you're not going to do that, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah, and the fact that they said like residences were being broken into, starting people's homes on fire, and then you had cars on fire, and they said like within, I want to say it was 12 hours that 34 people had died. And it's like, they said it was all migrants, but what if it wasn't?
Well, how could it be?
Right.
I mean, like I could imagine scenarios where migrants were like taking the brunt of it, but that woman that they yanked back by her hair, I mean, what happened to her?
Exactly. And the cops did start firing like gas canisters to try to keep people like down that wall, like from coming back up. So it's like the president can say whatever he wants, but these people live in that town. And, it's just like when it's chaos.
I can't imagine being a parent in that area right now. Like, oh my God, those poor people.
Yeah. And so I want to also read really quickly a statement from Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, wrote this on X today. This, all caps, is Marxism in practice. Open borders, eroded sovereignty, and unlawful migration on a massive scale. What's happening in real time in Spain is exactly the future the radical left envisions for America. The socialists are ruining Spain just as they would in the United States. We must defeat the Communist Caucus Democrats, and we will. And as much as I'm glad if Republicans are deciding now to combat communism, the fact that the word is always communism, and nothing else is really bothering me, because I feel like there's more going on and they're afraid to say the other part of what's happening. I tell Hannah all the time that, to me, somebody like Tucker Carlson, who it seems like takes money every month from Qatar and then promotes now Maduro, Putin, it's a red-green alliance. This happened in Iran, where there was a mass migration, the leftists buddy up with the Islamists, and then the Islamists get what they want, they take over the country, and then the Islamists kill all the communists. So the fact that I understand that we had a whole presidency of, basically a whole presidency of W saying radical Islamic terror. And we got away from that because people were afraid of Islamophobia. But it's like, we shouldn't be afraid of Muslims, but we should be afraid of Islamists. We should be afraid of jihadists. And that's what, in all likelihood, the people coming over from Morocco and starting cars on fire and pulling women down by their ponytails are.
I feel in the actual definition of the word and not how people use it, I feel ambivalent about that.
Yeah.
I agree with you that there is a difference between Muslims who are like devout and love their God and love their family and try to live a certain way. There's a difference between that and Islamists who, kind of make Islam a political action, ethos, dogma, whatever. And I get that Morocco is a Muslim majority country, but I guess I have a hard time drawing that line between the two things and connecting them. Like, I don't know. I have to sit and think on that a while because we've talked about it before the show, and something about it just strikes wrong. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the same thing that's going on with Speaker of the House here. Maybe it's like, that feels wrong to say, and I don't even necessarily know how to articulate it.
Well, here's the issue. It's that people on the left embrace, and people on the right have been tricked into embracing collectivism. So everybody's got a label nowadays, and everybody's thrown into categories, and we don't treat people as individuals, and to me, that's the problem. In my opinion, if you're someone who posts radical things online and you're not naturalized, you should be tossed immediately, because you are a jihadist and an Islamist and you support terrorist groups, and you shouldn't get to stay in this country. It becomes more complicated when you're a naturalized citizen posting this stuff, for sure. However, there is a difference between Joe Muslim, the guy who owns a store with his family and loves his kids and just came here for a better life, or his parents did, and Jihadi Joe. And there's a big difference. And the minute we say you cannot criticize Islam because,
I guess I agree with that, but like in your mind, what is Islamic about crossing the Strait of Gibraltar and taking Spain? And it's a genuine question. It's not a pointed one.
Yeah, that it's a goal of the Islamic Caliphate to reclaim Spain because 600 years ago it belonged to them, in much the same way that Putin wants to reunite the USSR.
So you think that this surge, this incident that happened, is religiously motivated?
Yes. So if, let's just say, for example, you are one of these Moroccan people who live that close to Spain, I feel like it could become paramount in your mind as somebody who lives close to something that should be quote unquote part of the caliphate to do that first. Because it makes a lot more sense for you to do that than take Israel, for example, because you don't live down there. You're doing your part for the Islamic caliphate. And I feel like that's, some people, they might just want to go to Spain. But,
yeah, I think
you know what I mean?
That's a fair statement. I think I see how it could be possible for it to be Islamically motivated for some, or maybe most, or whatever. But, like, I don't know. Like I said, it just doesn't sit right.
Well, here's the two issues. One is that when a young guy who comes over, there's one picture of one of these kids. He's in the foreground. He's well fed, like good shape, like, and not like the kind of good shape we see in some sort of like terrorist training video where people are bones and lifting like a pole because
good shape.
Exactly. So he's in like genuinely good shape. He looks like he just came from the FIFA World Cup himself. And he's holding up the one finger, which is like an ISIS nod for like there's only Allah and you're gonna, conquer it for the caliphate. And that's one guy. But I'll say this, it wouldn't matter to me. It's dangerous no matter who it is.
For sure.
If it was 40,000 people from Honduras flooding our border, I would still feel like, what the fuck do we do?
Yeah, I agree. And that's like, I think greed and like greed for money, greed for power, greed for what someone else possesses is just as powerful a motivator as a religious charter or call to action, whatever you want to call it. If not more so, personal gain.
Right. And I'm just going to say, though, if there were 40,000 people from Morocco and 40,000 people from Honduras crossing our border, we would have to acknowledge that there's a greater chance that there are more pro-Islamic terrorists among 40,000 Moroccans than there are MS-13 members among Hondurans coming over. So it's like there can be dangerous people who come over no matter where they're coming from. But when 80% of Egyptians, for example, believe in putting down gay people, there might be some cultural ramifications that make that specific group of people coming over more dangerous to Spaniards than Hondurans are to Americans.
I think this is going to be like, even though like the point of this show is that you have the two of us coming from kind of like two different backgrounds, even though whatever, we have arrived to the same place. And for the most part, I think like 99% of the time, even maybe 95, we agree on stuff. I think this is going to be one of those examples where like the point of the show, what we're supposed to be showing, is going to be made clear. Like, I don't think I agree with your perspective on this.
Okay, what do you disagree with?
I disagree with the leap to calling it an Islamic thing. Like, yes, they're coming from a Islamic majority, a Muslim majority country. Yes, it's Morocco and not Catholic Honduras. Correct. But like to say that somehow their intentions are worse for Spain than like Catholic Honduras MS-13 intentions would be toward the U.S., I don't think there's a meaningful difference between the amount of ill intentions that those people would be having to the people that they're invading.
The reason I'm going to disagree is because I think a lot of people from Honduras do just want a better life. And I'm sure that there might be some among these Moroccans, but I think if you look at London, you can see that I think we have to get to a point where we acknowledge that these cultures are different, and there are some elements that just do not jive with Westernism.
So in your example, though, you're saying like, and I don't know where MS-13 is predominant, if it's Colombia or Mexico or what. But if you're saying like a group that is majority MS-13 is doing this to America, what we see, a group of, let's paint it as a worst case scenario, a group of jihadists are doing to Spain. Is this the example that we're talking about?
Well, I'm just saying that there are going to be,
hypothetical?
I'm just saying they're going to be per capita fewer MS-13 members in this group.
And I guess I just feel like we can't know that.
I guess we can't. So my point is, that's why we need borders. We got to keep everybody out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we can agree that this is a terrible thing and we need tighter borders. End of story.
Well, I know. And I'm just saying that there are specific cultures, though, that are more dangerous to us. Like, I will take all of your Japanese people. China bitches, sorry, you gotta stay out. I don't hate Asians. I'm not xenophobic. But there aren't Japanese people that are bringing bioterror agents into the country and buying up all our farmland.
Yet.
No.
No, I'm kidding. I feel like...
Konnichiwa.
I feel like criminals are criminals. Self-interested people are self-interested people. I think those cultures are dangerous.
Yeah.
Whether they're Islamist Moroccans or MS-13 Hondurans, for our hypothetical example. I don't think... The point is that I choose neither, but if I had to choose between them, I don't see a meaningful difference.
No, and that's fine. Because I think what we need to land on, though, is that if there could possibly be one dangerous person among 40,000, they're not coming in. Mm-hmm. And everybody is afraid to, like, offend anyone. And this guy, Sanchez, is the perfect example. It's like, all cultures are welcome. It's like, well, I don't care what the culture is. If there's danger there, you shouldn't come in.
And that's the point that we can agree on.
Yeah.
I don't care what the culture is.
Yeah.
I care about the intentions and, like, the ability of that culture to respect and integrate into wherever they're going.
Yeah, and there are plenty of people who don't integrate, who don't bother people.
I'm not saying assimilate. I'm saying integrate. Right. Like, live side by side. You don't have to change your culture or, like, become American or become Spanish.
Well, yeah, and she makes a good point, because if you look at Minnesota, it's like there are people that have, like, a complete town that is, like, all Somalia. Like, and they have no interest in, like, being neighbors with people, and the same thing is happening in certain areas of Arkansas now. So it's like, it doesn't matter what the people are or anything like that. The problem is that when you have cultures, whatever they may be, that decide, I think they have, like, a superiority complex. So they have no goal of integration. Mm-hmm. They have a goal of, like, you're going to be like me, or I'm going to start your car on fire. Mm-hmm. That's a problem.
Well, of course.
Anyway.
So, yeah, no, but, like, I think it's important that we have, like, a little bit of back and forth like this, because we almost never do. And it is supposed to be the point of the show. Yeah. And I think it's important to practice disagreeing with somebody and not making them your enemy and not being disrespectful and not letting it slide into a place where the conversation is not useful or serving anyone.
Well, I can admit that I have bias against radical Islamic jihadists, because Hannah pointed out that they want to kill me 5 different times.
Different ways, yeah. Well, and I agree that I am opposed to radical jihadist Islamists.
All right, well, then we'll shake on it. We'll see what's going on with Moroccans in Spain in 2.5 years.
2.5 years?
Yeah, it's going to take some time for them to take it over.
That's so specific.
I think that's about how long it'll take.
All right, well, we'll hold you to it because it's recorded. So,
okay.
Let's see, it's 2026, almost August. So at the end of the year in 2029, we'll have to see how Spain is doing.
We'll say, yeah.
On New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve,
2029 going into 2030.
Okay, 2029. All right, we're going to put it on the calendar.
Okay.
And if our calendar still exists because we haven't been taken over by an Islamic caliphate, then...
or MS-13.
They trafficked me.
I think I find comfort in the fact that I think I'm finally getting too old to be trafficked, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I have crow's feet.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for hanging in there. It was a big week, and we covered a lot of stuff, and I hope we tried to make it funny, but there was a lot to talk about, too. So let us know what you think. Keep emailing us at
redwhiteandbi@gmail.com. It's a word and.
We love your guys' feedback, and we love doing the show for you guys. So we're excited to come back in 2 weeks and see what's up.
And do episode 40.
40 is going to be tough.
A milestone. You act like we're turning that age.
We're going to be, we're going to be fully middle-aged podcasts.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.